My name is Patrick Sieb. I'm Executive Director of the St. Paul Riverfront Corporation. And I see lots of friends and colleagues and people who have been hard at work at rebuilding our city, reconnecting to the Mississippi River, and really changing the face of our city. Probably a person who has done more in that regard is our first speaker this afternoon. And I'm about to introduce the mayor of St. Paul. Before I do that, I just want to say I was at a Rotary Club meeting today where he was the guest speaker. And the person who introduced him gave a wonderful, glowing introduction of this mayor and well-deserved acknowledgement of his many accomplishments, both as mayor and before that as city council member. And the only thing I would add to that introduction, Mayor, that Paul Verrett gave you is that I am quite certain that when this mayor leaves office, he will be known as St. Paul's best mayor ever in 2023. And I'm not announcing any...
People were laughing back there. And not of the 2023 part.
And I'm not making any prediction about whether or not he'll run for office again. I only know that he said he will not leave office until every pothole is filled. There we go. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Chris Coleman.
I didn't say what they were going to be filled with. It could be just water and snow and various things. Well, welcome everyone and congratulations. First of all, we should all just turn around for a second and look at that gorgeous view of the skyline of the city of St. Paul with the Mississippi River kind of flowing in front of it, flowing very heavily right now. The rebuilt Raspberry Island, the work that was done over on the upper landing over on the west side or the east side of the river. You think about all the things that are happening within either direct view or indirect view of this spot. It is really an amazing time to be part of the city of St. Paul. And so we've talked a lot about what's happening on the downtown side of the river. We've talked a lot about what's happening in places like Payne Avenue where new restaurants are popping up, or University Avenue where we just celebrated the opening of the Green Line during monsoon season last Saturday. But after having about 3 stops and starts of this particular project, we were a little gun shy about kind of proclaiming that we were ever going to get here to this day where we actually got to cut a ribbon on new units of housing on the west side, because there was a lot of stops and starts to this project. There are a lot of alternative visions that were not necessarily consistent with what I think the city of St. Paul needed, certainly not consistent with the community vision for what could happen here, how we could build this out, but in a way that honored its location on the Mississippi River. And then we chased projects through one of the worst recessions in the history of this country. And so, you know, I know that I was involved in at least 2 groundbreakings on this site, and it was always one of the coldest days of the year. But here we are, a few years later, and celebrating this wonderful, wonderful project. And it's a testament to the community vision. It's a testament to persistence of George Sherman and all of his partners that were part of this project. And it's ultimately a testament to where the city of St. Paul not only has come from, but where it's going. And I just think, as I like to brag, it seems like I'm bragging about an injury, but I'm literally getting repetitive stress injury from all the ribbon cuttings that we've been doing lately in the city of St. Paul. And so it is just it's so exciting to be a part of it. But this project and what can come in the next stage and the next stage after that, how we connect this side of the river to the other side, and we started envisioning what could come out of the West Publishing site and the old Macy's site and all of those things. It's just a wonderful time to be a part of the city of St. Paul. But none of this would happen if we didn't have developers that were willing to take a risk, if we didn't have partners that were willing to make it happen, if we didn't have city staff that were working very, very hard. I see Al Carlson here. Al Carlson is retiring, and I think it would be remiss of us if we didn't just stop and give Al a round of applause for all that he's done for the city of St. Paul. So Al, congratulations for your work. George, congratulations for your work. Patrick, for keeping the vision for the river, and everybody that's been involved in this project. Let's keep building. St. Paul's best days are ahead. Thank you.
as the mayor said, none of this gets done without a great deal of partnership, and I know George would say the same thing. Among those are the people who help with the financing and the financial support, and with help from HUD and Oak Grove Capital, this project came together. And so let me introduce Ken Dayton from Oak Grove Capital.
Well, George, I think we've been working together for over 15 years and worked on a lot of projects together, and this project's just got a fantastic vision. I like the view of the downtown landscape, the river, Harriet Island. You really outdid yourself on this one. And on top of that, he provided a Class A apartment building that also has an affordability component, where you got 36 units that are going to be for workforce housing, you know, for residents that are living in this community. And that is so difficult in today's world with increasing construction costs, land values, you know, labor. And that wouldn't have came together without George's vision and really all the community support. I mean, you had MHFA involved, City of St. Paul, Met Council, HUD provided the FHA insurance. We were able to sell the loan to AFL and provide all 100% union jobs here. So it's a great project. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
As Ken was mentioning, the financial supporters of this, I think I saw Harry Melander here just a minute ago. Harry, I think it's your pension that's part of the financing, so we want to make sure these places are rented so Harry can someday retire. Ken also mentioned the Minnesota Housing Finance. Do I see Barb? Where's Barb? Oh, there we go. Barb Sporling from Minnesota Housing Finance.
Thank you. My name is Barb Sporline. I'm the Deputy Commissioner with Minnesota Housing, and I'm here on behalf of our Commissioner, Mary Tingerthal, who actually will be here soon, but had a conflict during this time of it. But I was happy to come and say a few things, and three things really come to mind. We're happy to be part of this partnership. We contributed $2 million in deferred loans that we got through state appropriations. And what I really want to highlight there is that how lucky we are to live in a state that actually allocates housing resources so that we can do things like this. And that's a nod to not only the need that we've demonstrated out there, that everyone's demonstrated, but that we deliver. And we deliver together in partnership, and this is just one example of that. And we did such a good job demonstrating both need and the ability to get it done that we got another $100 million in housing bonds, GO and housing infrastructure bonds in this session, so we can do more good work together. So that's one thing. That's awesome. Thank you. And the second thing is, we rarely get out of the office to do this kind of thing and stop and reflect on what really all that work matters is the housing that's built, that it looks like this, it's located here, it's well designed, well built, and will be affordable for the people who need it. So we need to get out more and do this kind of thing. And you know, it took about 3 years maybe from selections. 2.5?
10 for some of us.
Yeah, well, no, from selections, from our part. But the third point I wanted to make is that I was, Marie and Al, I was just chatting briefly with them beforehand, and 24 years ago when I used to work at City Hall and work in the annex in planning in PED, and a lot of us were working on, with Patrick leading the way and others, on what do we want the riverfront to be and this neighborhood in particular, and it went through a lot of iterations, and to come back here now and see it, it's just amazing. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for getting this done.
So we know that it takes incredible political leadership, and we heard from the mayor, and Councilmember Thune would have been here, but his travel schedule didn't allow him. We know it takes financial support and creativity and financial modeling. Well, it also takes an incredible amount of neighborhood leadership and community vision. And there is no neighborhood, no community that has been more engaged in thinking about its future and the potential of this area than the Westside Citizens Community Organization. And I have worked with so many neighborhood organizations and community groups, and none make this community more proud than Wesco. So please join me in welcoming their Executive Director, Christine Shine.
As she said, I'm Christine Shine with Westside Community Organization, and Barb, you said it was about 2.5 years, and I think for some of us it was about 50 years in the making. So we're really glad that this is here and this is open. I just wanted to present a historic map of the West Side that we brought for the Westside Flats apartment here as a reminder of what the flats used to be like back before the changes. In the 60s, the flooding came and urban renewal was a process which scattered our community up into the bluff and into the and other neighborhoods and away from the West Side. So this is a long time in the making, and we're so happy that this opening is here. We're hopeful that this will bring revitalization to our community. We don't expect to replicate the past, but we do hope that with the planning and persistence that we've experienced and done, that the West Side Flats can once again be a vibrant, bustling community with new residents and long-timers thriving together here on the West Side. So I present to you this historic map from 1916. I hope that you display it proudly somewhere here in the apartments. And thank you. We're so glad that you're here.
So before there was West Side Flats, before there was the upper landing, before there was the idea of rebuilding the post office as custom house, before there was the Penfield, before there was Farmers Market Flats, there was George Sherman knocking on the door to help create the North Quadrant, help build the first really new neighborhood in St. Paul in the North Quadrant, long before anybody else saw the potential, the opportunity, or the vision. And he figured out how to work through systems, how to acquire property, how to work with neighborhood groups. And of course, he had many successes in Minneapolis before doing that. But I think he applied all of that knowledge and much more as he began helping to work with all of us in creating this vision and helping us understand how to fulfill our aspirations of bringing people back to the river. And for all of the things we've done to bring people back to the river, the events, the activities, tree plantings, there is nothing more profound than people living on the river, because that changes everything. If people who care about it in a different way, and really the gift that George is bringing to us in this idea of reclaiming the Mississippi River is he's giving people homes on the river. George is a visionary in so many different ways, but probably most compelling was on the invitation to this event, where he made it clear that this is on a light rail stop, and you can leave downtown Minneapolis and get out and walk to this as if you're on any other light rail stop. And I want to acknowledge that sort of visionary sort of expression of how this is part of the core of St. Paul. Somebody get credit for that? Who deserves credit for that? I'm sure it wasn't George, actually. He does tell me that a next phase is to build a commercial restaurant opportunity right next door, and I'm pretty sure if he did buttered tin too, there would be a whole bunch of customers immediately. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to George Sherman.
Well, thank everybody for coming today. And the reason you have grand openings is to thank people. And it takes not just a village, but a town to build communities like this. And there's so many people to thank. As the mayor mentioned, we've had, I think, 3 groundbreakings, but only 1 grand opening. We've gone through a number of visions of what this project should look like. We went through a tremendous recession. We went through an environmental cleanup here that took years to finish, but we are excited about what the product has turned out to be, and as the mayor has said, we're excited about St. Paul. I mean, this is a dynamic town. It is a happening town. The riverfront is just part of it. The light rail opening up is more. I think what you're going to see in the next year to 5 years is going to be a real boom in St. Paul's housing market and in its commercial market. There's a fundamental change that's happening across America, and the Twin Cities is leading the way, and that's both a demographic change that's occurring in our population, where finally the baby boomers are not babies anymore. They are the 60-year-olds, and they are moving back into town. And we are having more families that don't have are not as large of families and are moving downtown. And we have a whole reattraction to the downtown because of its vibrancy, because of the time the cities have taken to do planning for the river, do light rail transportation. So the cities are going to be the next 30 to 40 years of what the suburbs have been. And St. Paul, through its careful planning process, through its neighborhood participation, and through the groundwork that has happened over the last 20 years, is going to be one of the most vibrant towns in the U.S. It's exciting. The mayor's getting blisters from doing ribbon cuttings, but I don't think it's over with yet. You know, when Al was only in his 20s when he started working on this project. He's retiring, unfortunately, and you know, I don't know if this was the project that forced him to retire, but the mayor was a young city council member when he was first started on this project. So it's aged a few people, and it's given wisdom to a lot. But I do want to thank the city of St. Paul for their leadership here, both the mayors, Al's, Dave Thune's. You know, it took a lot of belief in that doing the right thing on the West Side Flats. I think this is going to set a standard for what will come forward. We have 180 units here today. I'm hoping that we can have 500 to 600 units in the next 24 months to 36 months. It's gotten off to a great start. But I think we set the bar right. I think the city took the time to get it right. And I think we set the parameters for success over the next 4 to 5 years. We have to thank the mayor, Dave Thune, Al Carlson, and just the host of PED staff that worked on this. I think we spent 4 years on title registration alone to acquire the land from the railroad. And I think the railroad actually gave up. You know, it has never been the case where you could outlast the railroad, but in this case, I think we were able to outlast the railroad. So I want to thank the St. Paul for the vision here. As you heard, we also have to thank Wesco. I mean, this was so many hours. We started on this almost 10 to 12 years ago with Wesco, and many of us had to sit through Jerry Troyan's idea of Disney World and the meditation park and a few other crazy ideas before we could stand back and say, let's get this right, let's do housing as it should be. This is not Disney World, this is St. Paul. We want this to be a place you can live in. We don't really, it's nice that you visit, but we really want you to stay. And so I think we got it right, and I want to thank Wesco for the hours and, of neighborhood meetings that we spent on this. It took a lot of funding to get this going. This was a contaminated site. There was not a street that served this. There was a, you could call it a street. It wasn't much of a street that served the riverfront. And today we now have what will be a major avenue to serve the Raspberry Island and Harriet Island, and we cleaned up a tremendous amount of soil contamination, and we set the parameters for what can happen over the next 5 to 10 years. So when you do that, you have a lot of people to thank. And so you've heard about them today, but I'd be amiss if I didn't go through the list again. From the city of St. Paul, who contributed both home dollars and tax increment dollars. The Minnesota Housing Finance Agency, as you heard, who contributed dollars for from their funding program for affordable housing. And really, we're a tremendous believer in West Side Flats as a major investment location for additional housing and what that can happen in downtown St. Paul. Ramsey County, I know Commissioner Ortega wanted to be here. He may show up for part of it, but they helped with a lot of the cleanup funds, and we did miss 2 of their staff on our invite, Denise and Mary Lou, and they were some of the first dollars in to help clean up this site. Met Council and Deed helped build the road that now is part and provides access to the riverfront. And I know this will be a wonderful place. The seats up here are going to be $1,000 per seat for the 4th of July. But because of the road, the rest of St. Paul is going to be able to get to the island. And so, you know, the road serves all of St. Paul and helps provide access to Raspberry Island and Harriet Island. And it was a major investment by the Deed and by the Met Council. And as you heard, also we thank the HUD office and the AFL-CIO to help provide the first mortgage on this. There's so many people. Our staff spent you know, over 10 years on this. I think there's some of them too are getting to retirement age now, so you know, we want you to send memos saying it's not as great on the other side, so they stay around and work on the next couple phases. But I want to thank everybody for being here. I know many of you, and the reason we do this is to thank you, and a lot of effort went into this. If I missed someone, I apologize, but we are excited about St. Paul. And you have to be excited about this view. I mean, this is a view to build for, and we look forward to the next couple of phases. Thank you all for coming.